Today we're going to be talking about two things that really tie together. One is speed of service. I'll talk about that many times, but also you've got to develop a sense of urgency as a food truck business owner. We're going to talk about that today. But before we get into the topic at hand, I want to let you guys know I'm going to be in Houston, Texas this year on July 29th and 30th, and this year being 2024. I'm going to be giving two presentations as a part of the Food Truck Owners Expo. One presentation is going to be on creating a profitable menu. The other presentation is going to be on how to market in your off season, if you have an off season. In between those two classes, I'm going to be out on the main floor holding campfire sessions where you guys can sit down, talk to me, or you can listen to me talk about certain subjects in the food truck industry. You can ask me questions, and we can have a really great conversation out there on the main floor. So if you'd like to attend this Food Truck Owners Expo, you can go to ftoexpo.com, order your tickets, and when you do, put in the code FTTG15 and you'll get a 15% discount. Welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach, author of 5 food truck vending books, including Food Truck 101 and Food Truck 201. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. How confident are you about your menu pricing? Are your prices profitable, or are you just scraping by? If you're not sure, I've got just what you need. Table Needs has built a super simple menu pricing calculator that you can use for free, and it will help you figure out the best price point for every item on your menu. Get started with Table Needs menu pricing calculator today at tableneeds.com, or you'll find a direct link in the description below the podcast. Speed of service. You guys have heard me talk about that a few times at least. And then also the new topic is developing a sense of urgency. That's something we always talked about in food service. Everything has to be done quickly because you got to get back to taking care of your guests. So if you're doing prep, you got to have a sense of urgency. Let's get it done right, but get it done quickly. I mentioned before when I started working at Rack's Restaurants, I thought I was just awesome. The main focus position was the one making the roast beef sandwiches because that's what Rack's Restaurants sold. Was roast beef sandwiches. That was the star of the show. We sold more of those than any other product. So when you got to work that station, it was a big deal. The roast beef was sliced to order. So it was assembled and made to order. So it was a big deal to be able to work that station, especially on a busy day. Well, I had been working there couple of months, and one of the managers sat me down in the dining room. Actually, I came into the restaurant and they were sitting in the dining room, so I just joined them. And they were telling me, Bill, you got to be the slowest person we've ever met. I'm like, but I thought it was doing so good. She said, the first month you was here, we were considering terminating you because you were so slow. We'd never seen a human being move so slow and not be on drugs. So it was kind of a wake-up call for me. In between the first and second month, I'd gotten a little bit faster, so they at least wanted me to remain as part of their team, but I had to get faster. As it turned out, the only reason they kept me around was because I was 18 and I was over 18 and I was a closer. And closers were hard to come by, especially during the school time, because the kids couldn't work past 11 o'clock. And that's when we closed. That meant that they couldn't actually help us clean up. So being over 18 had some privileges, and it kept my job. But what I did learn was that we got to have a sense of urgency on everything that we do. It's not just wrapping a sandwich or slicing the roast beef. It was also the cleanup. It was also sweeping the floors. It's got to be done quickly. You've got to have that hand at your back pushing you to do things faster. My mother, as I mentioned, worked in a bank. She was the vice president of their accounting department. And so I would go in to visit at the bank pretty frequently. I actually did all my banking there, so when I would get my paycheck back in the day before direct deposit, would make that little beeline over to the bank and cash my check. And I got to thinking, one of the days I was standing in line going, man, these people are moving really slow. I got other things to do. Let's go. The bank tellers move at a snail's pace. They have no hustle. They have no sense of urgency. And you might be thinking, well, they're counting money. They're responsible for it. Well, that's true. They are. And being off even a penny or so in a bank is a big deal because the bank has to balance its books. There are state inspectors that come in just to check out their books and their accounting methods. So it is a big deal to be accurate, but there's no reason why being accurate can't be fast. Because remember, as a manager in a restaurant, especially a high volume restaurant, you're counting a bunch of money. This, again, in the late 70s, early 80s, was before we were taking credit cards. So every single sale was a cash sale. So we had a bunch of cash to count. I got really good at counting money, got really fast at it. And I started to watch those bank tellers and I'm going, I could count out my money 3 times to make sure it's right in the time that they were counting it out once. And they were using hundreds, so they got to the total pretty darn quick. You work in a restaurant, you're counting a whole bunch of 1s and 5s and 10s, as well as 20s and 50s and 100s. So I got to be really, really fast at counting money. That sense of urgency has to be in all walks of life. So while I'm standing in that line, I'm thinking everybody needs to do 2 things in life. They need to be a part of the military for a few years so they can get a sense of discipline and a sense of teamwork and a sense of your life is in somebody else's hands. That makes you take things a whole lot more serious. If you pay attention to the youth in other countries around the world where they require military service of at least 3 years, the youth seems to be a little bit more polite, a little bit more focused on getting their goals done. You look at the youth in our country and they still can't figure out whether they should eat a Tide Pod or not. The second thing that I learned besides being in the military service is everyone should have to work in a fast food restaurant because you learn a sense of urgency. You learn it's got to be fast, and you learn some patience when you deal with people that come in. And it's not the people that tax your nerves. I know you're all going, well, them stupid customers can't read. You're right. Some people don't read your menu, not a bit, but they still deserve the same treatment as the person that comes in and is super efficient and tells you exactly what they want based on your menu. But that sense of urgency's got to be there. So speed of service and sense of urgency, how does that all tie together to be a part of your food truck? Well, here's some things for you to consider. Speed of service creates guest satisfaction. You have no idea if that line of people out there is a bunch of people that have eaten with you many, many times, or it's consisting of a bunch of people that have never eaten with you. So you're creating a first impression. If you're slow, that's a bad first impression. Now, they can love the food. Everyone says, and you've heard me complain about this, people will wait on good food. Well, yes, they will. You got their money. They don't have a choice. What you don't realize is the people that are being forced to wait on that food are learning that you are too darn slow for their busy life. So they may come eat with you occasionally when they've got time to waste and they know they have time to waste, but you are not going to be their day in, day out choice because you're abusing their time. People don't have the time to waste. So don't think that people wait on good food. You got their money. They don't have a choice. So you're creating a good first impression when you have good speed of service. When you have awesome speed of service, you're telling people, you come back because I got your back. I am going to take care of you as quickly as I possibly can, and you're going to love the food. So you're creating repeat business. Guests are more likely to return when you respect their time because they know, hey, I need a quick bite to eat. I know I can go to that food truck and get taken care of and taken care of fast. But if you're known to be slow, they won't come back as frequently. Now, here's a mathematical thing for you. The more guests you can get through the line per hour, the more money you make. So it behooves you to become faster. You want to pull up to a line of people. You want to get them out as quick as you can. And hopefully there's new people joining that line so it never, ever breaks. The more people you get through line, the more money you make. That is just a simple math equation. If you get 30 people in line and each person represents $20, that's $600. But if you can take 60 people an hour, that's $1,200. Taking one order a minute is not that uncommon. Fast food restaurants do it all the time and do it well. The Wendy's that I had at one point, we were able to do 120 people just at the drive-thru. 120 cars. We were doing what Chick-fil-A's doing today. If you go around to a Chick-fil-A, they got half a dozen people outside taking your order and collecting money and walking food out to you. We were doing that before it was fashionable. We were doing that at the Wendy's in Pine Street or on Pine Street in Ocala, Florida. We were doing that in the mid-'80s. We had 3 bus drivers, school bus drivers, that would come in every day. They would get all their kids taken, all the different routes they would run, and then they had about 2.5 hours to kill. So they would come to our Wendy's and work. They would work basically from about 11:15 to 1:15. That's when we were the busiest. So we had a team of these 3 bus drivers outside taking orders. And this is before we had the ability with everything being wireless. And we made it work. We were able to do 120 cars without a problem. Our biggest issue at that particular store was we were set at the corner where there's a red light. People couldn't get off our parking lot. We would put so many people through. So we would have as many as 15 or 20 cars waiting to get off of our parking lot. All of them have already gotten their food because we've already collected the money because we had people that moved back and forth. We already took the food out to them, so they're sitting there eating while they're waiting to get out of our parking lot. And then when the light would change and the traffic would clear, we'd have 20 cars just zooming right by the drive-thru, not even having to stop because we took care of them. We made sure that the limitations of our facility didn't impact our speed of service. You got the same challenge. You have a little teeny tiny space to put out a whole bunch of food. How are you going to make it work? What that does is it gives you a competitive edge. It makes you better than all the other food trucks because you have a sense of urgency. You respect your guests' time. What you want to look at to create that good sense of urgency, you got to streamline your processes. You've got to be fast, you got to be efficient, and you got to figure it out based on your menu. The team that you have has got to be coordinated. They got to understand what their job responsibilities are, and those responsibilities have to meld with other team members so that you can get everything done as quickly as possible. Once you figure that out, your operation moves much more efficiently, much more smoothly. By being quick, by having a sense of urgency, it shows professionalism. It shows you respect your guests and that you're serious about your own business. You're going to build trust and confidence in your guest into your brand. They know that if they are in a hurry, want to get something to eat, they know where to go. You got to have adaptability, quick problem solving. Melissa and I are always thinking about a backup plan. How do we back this up if something fails? You walk around our food truck, this is one of the things that I talk about. There's a backup for everything. Every single piece of equipment is backed up in some way. Could be a clumsy backup, but it's there just in case. We don't have deep fryers. We have different air fryers that we can do different things with. We have one that we just absolutely love because it's pretty darn quick, but we got it backed up because if it fails, we got to have a way to get that food out. We've got different ways to produce all of our food. I don't want to have just a single point of failure. I learned that a long time ago as a Burger King franchisee. You cannot have a single point of failure because you're going to upset a whole bunch of people. We got 2 coffee pots. I've got multiple tablets to be able to take orders on. I got multiple ways to run credit cards. Back up as much as you can back up. And if it takes you time to build up that backup system, then take the time to build it up. I don't expect you to be able to buy everything you need today to be able to back up all your systems, but you need to work towards that. Give an example. The other day, a guy came in, ordered a bunch of food. It's about $30, $40 worth of food. We were super excited for that size of an order. He whips out a credit card. I had my credit card machine plugged in. I use a Square terminal, and all I do is use it for cash. I don't use it as the POS. All it does is run credit cards. So I got the thing plugged in and charging it up. The guy presents his credit card, so I pick up the terminal, and I forgot that it was plugged in. So, of course, when I tried to turn it around so I could plug in the dollar amount, the thing fell out of my hand because the cord grabbed it and dropped it on the floor. All right, no big deal, except that the roll of tape came out of it, and the back part of it, the door part of it, came off as well. Now, I've only had to change the tape a couple of times, so I'm not real familiar with how that thing works. And I could not get it to reload the paper and shut the door, because it won't do anything if the door's open. So rather than sit there and fumble with it and look clumsy and say, well, I've got to have cash because I'm too stupid to figure this thing out, I just set it aside, grabbed my phone, because he was going to do tap to pay anyway, grabbed my phone, keyed in the amount, here you go, tap to pay. So that whole little issue took about 30 seconds, because once I figured out that I ain't getting this thing put back together quick, it was on to something else. It was on to my backup plan. And as far as he was concerned, it had no impact on him at all. If I couldn't have got my tap to pay to work, I could have pulled down my PayPal. I've got the Zettle machine. I could key it in. And I do Stripe as well. I've got my laptop. Those would have been a little bit more clumsy to get them going, but I could have got them going in less than a minute each. Make sure that your menu is designed for simplicity. Cannot stress that enough. The bigger your menu is, the slower you're going to be. That's an automatic thing. It's going to make it difficult for your guests to figure out what they want. And once they do figure out what they want, especially if they order from a lot of different areas of your menu, now you have an overly complicated order to produce. And then all of those cooking times have to kind of match together so that all the food comes out hot. You don't want something to cook and get it done because it's easy and then it's set either chilling, or you put it in a warmer where it's bleeding off steam and going from crispy to soggy. So make your menu as simple as possible. Do as much pre-prep as you can. Get yourself ready to go for those lunch periods or those rush periods. Pre-cut ingredients, prepare sauces, organize your workspace for efficiency. Make sure that the steam tables are set up in a manner that makes sense. Make sure your prep table is set up in a manner that makes sense. You're not going back and forth or side to side or doing 360s all day long. Speaking of 360s, make sure the workstations are efficient. The food needs to move, not your staff. Everything should be within arm's reach for what you want that station to do. They shouldn't have to run from one end of the trailer to the other to figure something out or to grab something they need. It should be there within arm's reach. each employee on your truck, whether it's you and one other person or 4 people and you just monitor what they do, each of them needs to have an assigned role that explains what they do, what they don't do, and how they communicate back and forth with each other to get the food out quickly. You got to use a POS system. You got to have one that's got KDS, and that stands for Kitchen Display Screens. You got to have that. It's 2024. There is zero reason for you to be handwriting tickets. There is zero reason for you to be trying to figure out how to plug in a printer to a Square system and print up a ticket. Now you got a ticket you got to pass. You have something physical that has to move between you and employees, and you got to have a ticket rail. As soon as your exhaust system kicks on, it's going to suck those tickets up into it, and they're long gone. Or it's going to pull them off the ticket rail. They land on your griddle or into your fryer. Now you can't read them because they turn from a white background with black letters to a black background with black letters on it. Impossible to read. It's 2024. Get yourself a KDS system. There is no reason for you to be handwriting anything. People are very impressed when they see me walk outside with a tablet. It's starting to get hot. And of course, hot weather means there's lots of flies and stuff. So sometimes I'll just go outside to take their order so I don't have to lean out the window while they're trying to read the menu and figure out what they want. So I'll come out there with the tablet and start to ring them up. And they're like, wow, that's cool. So, yep. And as I ring this stuff up, Melissa can see what I'm ringing up. I don't have to yell, not a thing. Training is so important. I'm going to be giving a master class in about a week on how to train your staff, how to find staff. If you haven't joined that masterclass series, you need to join it because this one is a big deal. You want to be fast, you want to be efficient, you got to train them. It just doesn't happen. Make sure your staff is well trained on how you want things to operate, and then listen to their feedback when they say, hey, if we do this, it could be a little bit faster. They're the ones that are doing it multiple times a day. Listen to their feedback. So hopefully this little sermon that you heard today gets you to think about your processes and your procedures so that you can have a sense of urgency, so that you can create the speed of service that's going to impress your guests and get them coming back more and more frequently. But that sense of urgency starts with you. You cannot be slow because it will come back to bite you. People will look at it and go, I know I can't eat there because it's going to take 25 minutes to get the food. I don't have 25 minutes. Sense of urgency. Can I do this faster? What's my record for having done this? We used to do all kinds of things where we would race each other. For example, when we drop fries in our food truck, we know we have a certain amount of time to get all the rest of the food done by the time the fries gets completed. So that becomes our little race. We are racing those fries. We did that at the Philly station that we had. I knew as soon as my cashier dropped the fries, I was on the clock. And I got to get all the sandwiches that they ordered done before those fries get done. And it was awesome because I love going as fast as I can. I love impressing people and have them say, wow, that was fast. And then when they take that first bite, the speed is justified by the deliciousness of the food. When you have those two things working in unison, you have an unstoppable combination. And then it just becomes, you got to market to fill the gaps. If your goal is to take 60 orders an hour, you need to have 60 people there to be able to take them in the first place. So now you got a marketing problem. That's where I want y'all to be. I want everything to become a marketing issue. How do we get more people into the business? Not, we get a bunch of people invited and we're slow. And it takes us all the way back to the beginning. First impression. If their first impression of you is that you are too darn slow, they may never come back because there are food trucks out there that are faster, and certainly there are restaurants that are faster. Don't be arrogant and say, oh, my food's better than anybody else's. If you're too darn slow, you don't respect my time, I don't care how good the food is. I ain't coming back. I don't have enough time to waste waiting on you and Grandpa to get the food out. Respect your guests' time. It will pay you massive dividends. Thank you so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding all the information helpful to your food truck business, please become a monthly supporter of the podcast. Just hit the support button or follow the link in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. Join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We have a whole bunch of awesome members at all different levels, from brand new beginners to decades-old veterans. They've all got your back when it comes to helping you with your food truck. And again, thank you for listening. Come back tomorrow because you know I got plenty more to say when it comes to helping you and your food truck business grow.